本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。What's good, Internet? It's Monday, August 24th, and you're listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 339. I hope. I'm your host, Austin Walker. Joining me today, Ricardo Contreras.
Hey, how's it going?
And Patrick Klepek.
I think you should have to guess it.
Every time. I just get rid of
can
this.
You block it out? Like, block it out. Like, put it in, like, lower down. Yeah. And then...
And then try to figure... Well, the thing that happens every week is, it's like, did I already update this last week? Did I do the thing I should never do?
I know.
And did I put it forward at the end of the last recording thinking, I'll help out Austin on Monday? Because that way it'll be already the right thing, which I don't think I did. I think 339 is correct.
It is.
How are y'all doing? How's your weekends?
I thought about cursing this podcast immediately up front, and then I decided again. I closed the tab. I mean, I didn't close it. I'm closing it now. I am closing the link to this trailer for Showtime's The Comey Rule, starring Jeff Daniels
we're not doing it.
as Comey, in which... And I was going to make us watch the trailer, but
I will not.
You say that, but if I had dropped it in, it would have clicked. You would have.
The line must be drawn here.
I'm not doing it. No. I'm going to watch it later, and I'm going to curse myself.
Yeah, well, I will curse the world with you via DM, but I'm not. I will not make our listeners suffer. Not today, the first day of the Republican National Convention, which, did you see the national anthem thing?
It's like different lyrics or something?
There were lyrics about Donald Trump in that national anthem they sung today.
Well, their platform, right? I saw it last night was just like, I don't know.
Him.
That
guy. Classic way to tell if your democracy is working. One of the parties points to a person and asks what they believe in. That's good. That's working functionally. Ugh, God. Anything less depressing happened for people this weekend? Anyone feeling good about anything?
Cado?
Dead air.
Cado?
Just dead air.
Hey, and I know swimming options for my daughter fell through, so we gave her fourth birthday is coming up on Tuesday, and she is thankfully
happy birthday, Jessica.
Not old enough to understand that she's going to have like a really shitty birthday and that she's not going to like have a birthday party. So instead we tried to hype up, like, we're going to spread it out. You're going to have a bunch of mini birthdays, and some swimming plans fell apart. So her birthday present because she just, I'm sure lots of kids are different, but like, I don't like buying her toys because there's no correlation between amount spent on toy to time spent using toy.
Yeah, sure.
The first time she got to go to a store during the COVID stuff, she was at home with my wife because for like 2 months I was doing all the shopping. Then we got her like a mask that fit properly. It's like, all right, you can come with me if you're careful. And I was like, look, Data is usually pretty strict on like what the cost of a toy you can buy for both his internal problems that he needs to work out in himself about money, and then also because you just seem, it doesn't make any sense what we buy you and how much time you spend with it. But I was like within reason, which was in my head, like $100 bucks. Like you can point at something, anything on the shelf, and we'll walk out of it like no questions asked. Like, you've been really good. It's been 2 months. You haven't gone to a store, and so let's go. And she picked something out. It was $40, so I felt like it was a win.
You think anything under 50 was a win there?
Yeah, 100%. I was like, I was like, I'm saving money actually, and brought it home and used it for like 10 minutes, and like just never touched it again. So I was trying to find, so what we ended up buying her was like a bounce house that has a little pool at the bottom with a slide. And it's like, I'm going to get more out of that. And she, so we gave that to her this weekend, and she was, she didn't know what to make of it. We like blew it up. Like, I set it up out in the back because my wife distracted her. And she comes out, looks at it, and goes, "What the heck is that?" And I'm like, well, one, I was going to police your language, but that's pretty funny, so I'm going to let it slide. Two, like, that's a slide with a pool. And she was like, I know, but why is it there? I'm like, it's your present. You can have it early. And she's like, I can go down and get in it? I was like, yes. She's like, great. Let's go. Where's my bathing suit? Oh. So we did that. And then, the reason I thought to bring this up was because I she doesn't have any friends over, so she's got no one to go on the slide with her. So she's like, you got to get up here. And I'm like, I have looked at that weight limit, and your dad is the skinniest of skinny white dudes, and that continues through 35. But pretty sure that like 144 pounds or whatever is not supposed to go on the thing that is weight limited at like 60. As she said, we could just buy another one if it breaks. And I was like, you know what? I thought about it.
This is a learning experience.
Well, so sure, that was my initial response. But then I was like, look, this thing cost $300. I was like, we're not going out. We're not doing anything. I was like, that's like a couple of meals during like, a summer, staying out with folks. Like, you know what? If we only get a month out of this because Dada sticks his foot somewhere and tears open a hole in this thing, well, so be it. So I got my bony ass on that slide and went down. It was pretty fun.
Did it work?
Pretty
you
good,
didn't break it?
Yeah. Well, like I spent like 5 minutes figuring out the points.
Right.
Like where is it best
load
constructed?
Bearing. Where's the load bearing part of this bounce house?
And I figured out the spots that I could safely kind of get myself up there and not cause too much damage. And I love water parks, and so for me, let's not pretend I didn't get an extraordinary amount of joy on going on the water
Maybe
slide.
the first thought
I don't
you
want
had
to
was
sit
like,
and pretend.
damn, it would be good if I got in that bounce house. I would love to. That would be great.
It was like, like 92 degrees. Like the moment that hose water hit the hot plastic or whatever that thing is made out of, like immediately it was warm. And I was like, man, I want to get in that goddamn pool too. So let's not pretend I was tortured.
You should just get one of those outdoor giant inflatable pools. Those are very classy.
Can't buy them, dude.
Wait,
cannot
really?
buy. So
they're just like sold out, or did I miss something legally?
No. Maybe I didn't tell the story on the podcast, or maybe it was months ago. But like we made the calculation back in May that like I'm encouraging my friends to do this too. Is like buy things that you think you're going to need in a couple of months now before. Like we just bought a heater for our deck. I was like, I'm thinking about that fucking winter. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna go spend $150 on a deck heater so we can be outside a little longer. So I already bought that, and it's shoved in the garage, even though it's gonna be 97, in 2 days. And I thought back in early May, I was like, I'm gonna buy a pool. I was like, how much does an outdoor pool cost? Like one of those decently sized ones. It was like $800. I was like, cool. Like we're not doing anything this summer. That's just that money is going to this, and like let's buy that. Turns out everyone else in the world had that idea, and you could not buy $800 pools.
A week before you did.
Yeah, you could buy them, but it was like $4,000 for the $800 pool. And maybe that's changed since then, but now it's the end of August, and it's like I'm just gonna muddle my way through.
You're just gonna climb into the bounce house.
Yeah. I'm gonna climb into the bounce house pool. Yeah. So yeah, believe me, I tried to make that work, and it was just. It's like, no, do you want to buy an in-ground pool for $8,000?
That's like a lot of money. Yeah,
I don't.
Do you also have, is your backyard fenced in? Does Illinois have that? Like, okay. I know in Jersey.
What do you mean?
In Jersey, you cannot have a built-in pool without having a fenced-in yard because
for like insurance purposes,
reasons,
for like
liability
kids.
reasons. Kids, yeah,
that makes sense.
Not just kids, pets, people. Who knows? Maybe a drunk 30-year-old decides to hop your fence and climb in your pool and die, which would be bad. But also, then the liability is such that you go like, well, you only had a little chain link fence, even though you had this big death trap. I was like, that's not a death trap; it's a pool. Like, looks like a death trap to me. A dead person's in it, and so
the little lake house that my parents bought years ago came with a hot tub, which my mom was like, can we throw that thing out? And my dad was like, absolutely not. You cannot. No. My dad didn't have like interests or like hobbies, but he saw that hot tub and was like, cool, that's my interest and hobby now.
I've been looking.
Yeah. But Wisconsin doesn't have any such requirements over like fencing, or at least this house that they bought did not. And but my mom like then made it like, she's like, all right, if you're keeping that goddamn thing, then you need to get a lock for it, because all she could think of was just you know most likely someone drunk wandering in, but some kids like getting into that hot tub and causing a problem.
Yeah, it'd be bad. I did one nice thing this weekend, which is like this weekend was I went to a friend of mine runs a bookstore out in Queens. Shout outs to Q and Willow Books. And I just like went there and worked from a little backspace that she'd set up. And it was like, I had a mask on and I was far enough away from like the retail part of the store, but people were coming in. There was like a very limited, it was one of those things that was like, appointments one at a time, or if there was no appointment made, up to 3 people at once could be in the shop if they distanced. And I was like, oh, there's like action. There's like people moving around me. Music is playing. I'm in a public space.
There's a chance for small talk. There's not over a Discord DM.
Exactly, 100%. Exactly that. I was like, I haven't seen my friend in a while.
No one's going to talk to me about the Comey trailer.
No one's going to talk to me about that. Not even once. And that was
Austin, did you see this?
Yeah, exactly. Not at all. None of that. Or it was that, but it was like, did you see this book that I know you'd enjoy reading and it will make your life, more positive this week instead of suffer with me? That was actually on Friday, I guess, because that was the DC stuff, or was that Saturday?
Saturday.
Okay, so it must have been on Saturday because the I was also just like doing work, but then also just like checking in on all the DC stuff that was dropping throughout the day, which I guess we should talk about some of. There's a lot there. That thing kept going in a way that I did not expect it to. I expected like a drop, but it was really it was like a full Comic-Con-esque day of events.
I didn't watch it as it was unfolding.
Yeah.
I just would like pocket the trailers until
I very much, I mean, we can't go through the whole thing. We can't go through all of it. We shouldn't. But I will say that day left me feeling like, I think I told another friend, I was like, man, I get upset about my inability to get excited about shit sometimes because I just left it really flat about basically everything. I think that like that Batman trailer looked okay, but it didn't move me. But also the fact that it didn't move me doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that this year especially, I think, has really like discombobulated my senses in a way that's hard to know if I care about anything, if that makes sense.
I will say I rewound the like little synth score that's at the end as the title card as the Batman comes up. I think Michael Giacchino is doing the music for that because he's done a lot of Matt Reeves stuff in the past, and like that little bit where it like links up with the what was the song that was in the trailer? Was it a Nirvana song?
It's a Nirvana song. Yeah.
The something in the way or whatever. Mm-hmm. That little bit was fantastic. And actually, we have been hosting an outdoor social distance movie night with this projector we bought for our deck. And we've been watching the Bill and Ted movies, which Bogus Journey, what a fucking weird movie that is. We watched, it was mostly my wife's friends. And I will say, to watch the Batman trailer to a bunch of people that like were, these are not people tuned in to like what are the comic movies coming out 2 years from now sort of people. Yeah. They are not me. And to watch the crowd discovery that Robert Pattinson was
That's fantastic.
Playing Batman, and then these are people all the same age. We came up in a Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, like Hot Topic, Goth. That we are those people. That is us. And so then to watch,
Scene goes to the suburbs. I get it. Yeah.
Yes. To watch a room of women collectively realize what was coming over them as this trailer, like a trailer washed over them. Like it was truly something special to watch. I was like, whoa, do I need to leave the room while you all finished watching the Batman trailer? It was truly, it was extremely funny.
I'm ready for it. I think I think that the shots that circulated beforehand, it was like, this is a take. I'm happy with this take.
Hey, the makeup, man. I did not even.
Well, the makeup. The thing that's great about it is
the acknowledgement that the makeup is a thing.
That's exactly it. That's exactly
never occurred to me that it's a really small detail that I don't know much about this movie, but that, and I have my misgivings on. Great, so we've had like 6 grimdark takes on Batman in a row. Like we need another one.
Yeah,
but. If you haven't watched Matt Reeves' Planet of the Apes trilogy, it really is like I think the second one's like the best. But he only did the second one. The first one
do the first
with
one,
somebody
right?
else.
Yeah.
But that second movie is really pretty good. And so he's a guy with a pretty good attention to detail. I was like, oh well, if he's paying attention to that kind of detail, it at least makes you like kind of curious, like what kind of story he wants to tell. And then people pointing out there was a GIF from the Tim Burton. I don't know if it was the original or Batman Returns, where to deal with the makeup that is clearly there around Michael Keaton's eyes, there were scenes where when he's going to they want him to be able to take the mask off, the cowl off in a scene, they would just wipe away the makeup so that when he took it off, there was nothing there. And so there was like a scene where like it like pans to clearly black makeup, and then pans back, no black makeup. Cool, can take cowl off now. I was like, oh, that's like you're not even like this is uninterested in like wrestling with like this very specific detail of the character, and it just makes me curious what other details that the movie would potentially.
Yeah, for people who don't know what we're talking about, if you look at Batman in any of the live adaptations, but also just like in the comics, what you see is the face mask and then like the eyes, the bright white eyes are shining through. And the way that you get that effect is, and this is true in the comics also, or at least some of the comics, there's makeup, there's black, I don't know if it's an oil, I don't know if it's eyeshadow, I don't know what it actually is. But it, you know, it's like eye black that like makes it so that the only thing that pops from the holes in the mask are the Batman's eyes. There's just a very good shot. There's just a very, very, very good shot of Robert Pattinson with just the most scene kid eye makeup on, because it's with his hair like it's good. But I also just like, well, what is this movie? Like, I don't know. I like the Batmobile. The Batmobile looks good. I'm happy that we're getting a car and not a tank. Like, I think that it's weird coming on the heels of the Joker that we're getting another like 70s crime film inspired film. But maybe it's not weird because that movie did well, right? So I don't know. Anyway, we'll see.
Suffer through the bad ones to get to one that might be okay, I suppose.
Yeah. But there's also all the game stuff, right? There was the Gotham Knights, which was that the WB Montreal one, right?
Yeah, the which I guess does not take place in the Arkhamverse or like Rocksteady's universe.
Does it not?
No, I think
they've said
it's a standalone. Whereas like the Suicide Squad game is actually going to, you'll be able to, they've said like you'll be able to pick up the threads of, not that it's like a sequel to that, but you'll be able to like know, well, what are characters up to in this universe from the 3 Batman games they did. Whereas where the Gotham Knights is an alternative telling where there's what is it called? Like a black, what's the code black or something that goes out and informs, 4 different, folks in the Batverse that Bruce Wayne has died. Although, boy, that sure seems like that's going to be a third act reveal that Bruce Wayne is back. Not, I hope that's not true because that seems a little too obvious. But that sure is it. In the third act, actually, I needed to become a villain to make you superheroes.
Or it might end up just because. So we know that it's a Court of Owls thing happening too, right? Which was like a year-long event that happened or like they were introduced in a year-long event 5 or 6 years ago now. And I'm curious if there's a world in which it's like I had to go deep undercover to get into the Court of Owls. And
so someone needed to watch Gotham while I was gone.
While I was gone, exactly that. Yeah.
Shit, this all makes way too much sense.
Yeah, and I needed them to move in.
You're really gonna get rid of You're gonna get rid of Batman in your Batman IP, like.
Yeah. That looked.
Who was the Deadshot Deadpool character? The red one.
The Red Hood.
The Red Hood.
That's Red Hood?
That's Red Hood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he have fake bullets or is he just shooting people?
It's very funny that you called him Deadpool to me. It is. It's actually. I love it. I love it, Cado.
That's when you say
no, I know
superhero who is red. I just think Deadpool, and I don't know enough about the
Spider-Man.
No, that's
DC
fine.
Comics.
Well, no, the thing that's funny
I've
to me
heard
is,
of Red Hood. I know. I've heard of that.
You probably met him in a video game. If you played the last, he's in Arkham, whatever. Arkham Knight, Arkham.
Knight?
Is that what is the
Arkham Asylum?
No, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. He's in Arkham Knight. I'm 90% sure.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not wrong. Okay. Or no, I guess he's not. Red Hood isn't, but Jason Todd, who is Red Hood, is.
Okay.
Anyway,
I've heard of the Red Hood mask in that one at the end or some shit.
Does he? Maybe he does. Maybe he puts it on.
There was the Red Hood reveal was in that game, but whatever.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, you might be right. Anyway. That game is like a multiplayer version of those games. Is like the very, very basic pitch with progression mechanics, leveling up. I guess. Yeah, you got numbers on enemies. The gameplay video they show ended with what looked like a strike boss fight agained Mr. Freeze, where they even
I only saw the trailer. I didn't see they put out a gameplay.
Yeah. I'll link it to you. That I will link to you.
Okay.
I keep typing Arkham Knights, and that's not the name of the game. And here we go. It's like 8 minutes long. You can click through it. Each character you can play as Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing, or Red Hood. Each of them seems to have different traversal abilities. Each of them seems to have different combat focuses. Each has a weapon. Robin has I think it must be Tim Drake, right? Or maybe it's could it be Damian? Is it Damian?
I think
it might be Damian
because Tim Drake's Nightwing, right? No, wait, who's Nightwing?
No.
That's
no. Nightwing is or unless are you saying that is Tim Drake Nightwing? Did I miss that?
Hold on a second.
Because Dick Grayson is my Nightwing,
right? And
Tim Drake fights with the bow staff, though. I guess you might be right. Maybe you're right.
Because hasn't there been like a shift? Yeah.
Yeah, but what is
Tim
it
Drake's
in this
the new
game?
Nightwing.
See, I missed all this. This is you can tell when I fell off of comics based on not knowing this shit. Yeah.
There's too many of them at this point.
There are too many of them at this point.
Too many Robins.
God, that's a great line from a Batman villain who's gonna go kill all the Robins.
Too many Robins.
Too many Robins. Too many secrets. Huh. Morty. Anyway,
usually I respond well to damage numbers, but I don't.
Yeah. So I'm there. I have two responses to this trailer. One of them is from when I first saw this trailer. The second is from after I played the Avengers for 5 hours this weekend.
Oh no!
Well, right, because that's what makes this such an interesting,
contrast
is having that beta out here while this feels very much.
There are similar goals
playing in the same world. Yeah,
the Gotham Knights game looks like it is them taking the Arkham games and then saying, how do we make this a games of service? How do we put a level indicator above enemy heads? How do we make it so that 2,803 damage gets done, and then theoretically you level up or get gear or craft? Like, I don't know we don't know anything about the progression.
How do you have a reason to go back to existing architecture and world without adding more story content?
They specifically talked about how in the Mr. Freeze fight that's at the end of this video, they're like, and listen, if you fight him at a higher level, it dynamically changes so that he has more phases and different attacks. So theoretically, that is literally like, I'm going to do the harder version of this mission or whatever, right? And that's like, my guess, Patrick, is they're just not going to provide a narrative reason for why you redo content. You just redo content.
Of course not.
Content. And it seems like it's one of these. Like, it is big open world from what this video looks like, where you're driving around, or if you're Batgirl, you're using the grappling hook. Robin can teleport because he's hacked into the Justice League satellite that lets you teleport, apparently. That's a thing. But like, sure. So I'm curious what Red Hood and Nightwing's traversal stuff is. If it's different, if it isn't, who knows? And then you're just doing the stuff. Like, are you going to be a stealthy Bat family member, or are you going to be a rough and tumble, get in your face Bat family member? And I think it looks fine.
Gun family.
Are you going to be the one with guns? Are you going to be the one who just fucking shoots people, apparently?
Yeah, see, that doesn't seem like I have a trouble reconciling. Like, it makes sense for a character like that to exist in, DC canon, but like in this specific game where you would have, the whole, the pitch at the end of the trailer was like, vigilantes to here, whatever, like the arc, like of them becoming more heroic, and it's like, yeah, but one of these dudes just has guns, I mean, that just feels like that rubs up against the arc that makes more sense for the other.
Can I tell you the truth? Here's my read on this. That isn't a betrayal of the fact that the Bat family doesn't kill people. That is the acceptance that, yes, they fucking do.
Okay.
They all kill people. Sure. And we got to get over it and admit that if you're going to hit someone over the head with a baton, you might kill them. And I don't think that's a good thing necessarily. And maybe you should hold your heroes to higher standards. But the Red Hood isn't any less any less of a Bat family member because he kills people. He's just more honest about it.
Well, I'm just, but I don't expect this to be reflected in the narrative.
No, I bet it's just, I use non-lethal stun bullets.
That's what I was asking. I was like, I wonder if that's what because wasn't that also like the case in Arkham Knight where it's like you're going around in this fucking tank and just like blowing the shit out of these cars, and
dude,
I can't remember what the narrative justification was.
I don't think there was why one. Was there?
Was there not?
Dude, you were blowing stuff up in that thing. It had a cannon.
Yeah, it did have a cannon.
Listen. Anyway, so I watched this trailer and I was like, ugh, this is everything that's frustrating to me in AAA games right now. in that the idea that this had to be a games of service game. This couldn't be, and it's not the first thing that's tried this, right? Like, I even think if you go back and look at like the Assassin's Creed Unity trailers, one of the things that they were trying to do was like, there's multiplayer, there's progression, there's like people have been chasing this style of stealth action game, but with Destiny progression for the since Destiny.
Yeah.
When it's tied to, this is only going to be exasperated in, a 4K era where it's not going to be games upscaling, but including native 4K assets. Like, games are going to get more expensive to make, continually, and so there is, I think there's reason to be rightly cynical sometimes, but it also is just like a budgetary and financial reality of how do you justify spending tens of millions of dollars on a game that people are going to consume otherwise in 48 hours
and not give you more than $60 for. They're going to give you their $60 and then they're going to move on. No, that is,
maybe some percentage buys a season pass, but a season pass is going, and
I get that, but it sucks. And that's like, I really would prefer the world in which those studios felt comfortable saying, we're going to do a smaller experience. We're not going to ask for that budget that lets us do the game of our dreams, because the trade-off is to fit ourselves into this mold that demands that the game shape itself around those elements. And so, like, let me just pivot to talk about Avengers. I put 5 hours into Avengers this weekend. I put 2, like, direct, straight, looking at the screen the whole time, paying complete, perfect attention. And I spent the other 3. I was also looking at the screen, but I was like watching stuff, listening to podcasts. Like, I was in a much more like, okay, let me try this in both versions of it. Let me try the version where I'm paying close attention, and let me try the version where, like, as one of these live games, it's just a thing that goes on in the background. And man, I think it's terrible. I can't decide if it reveals the way I really feel about this style of AAA game because it's a more honest version of it, or if what it reveals is the thing I actually do occasionally. Okay, so like my tastes are pretty weird. Like I think I have pretty idiosyncratic tastes. I think it's a pretty well-known thing that, like, I'm not a big Naughty Dog person, for instance, a company that I think is widely lauded across the industry. And I'm not taking away from people who like Naughty Dog. I'm not like, this isn't a diss track, right? Just not my thing. I have my issues with the company, and also just I've never really clicked with one of their games. For instance, right? And so, if I look at the games I like this, but if I look at the games I liked this year, for instance, I'm going to say like Umurangi Generation, but I'm also going to say Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? Like huge, giant, super budget game, with the backing of one of the biggest companies in the industry, and then
a remake,
and a remake, right? Turn into a more actiony, more mass appeal version of that game, right? And then a thing made by one person. And that's about the end of the world and ecological destruction, and
I still need to play that.
They're actually the same. Those both of those games are kind of about ecological destruction and the end of the world. Now that I think about it, so my taste is really apocalyptic.
Multitudes,
yeah, exactly. But you know what I'm saying? There are AAA games that I do connect to. Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite games of all time. I think every year some big AAA game makes me go like, damn, you know what? I still really like AAA games. Avengers feels like it's the AAA model. This is the beta. The game is out in 10 days, so this is the game right now. I'm sure there will be a day one patch that fixes one of the many crashes or freezes I encountered. There one time I loaded into a level and I couldn't attack. I could enter the menus. My buttons did things in the menus, but if I was just as Iron Man, hitting X didn't swing anything. The rest of my AI companions could fight. I could just get there and get walloped on. This game is a little busted right now.
Did you see the clip of somebody
Black Widow T-posing?
Well, there was Hulk's like textures glommed onto Black Widow's character model.
I didn't even see that.
And just a monstrous. It's
incredible.
It's very funny. The other was somebody just goofing with the game and wanting to see what happened when you failed the first QuickTime sequence,
which is the first thing you do in the game, by the way. That's the first. Yes, I've seen it.
Have you seen this? So what happens is often in every time in games, really, is that if you fail a QuickTime sequence, like rather than doing like the cool attack, you tumble to the ground and dodge out of the way, and then it just keeps moving. Also, go play Asura's Wrath. I think one of the greatest video games ever made. Yeah. It is a game about QuickTime events. Give me an updated version of that. I fucking loved that game. And so what happens in Avengers is if you don't hit Y or whatever, it just pauses. The game, Thor is just suspended in midair. The game goes into stasis, and if you touch the button, the meter starts to fill, and then if you let go, boom, just goes back to 0. The game does not progress until you hold that Y button down until it fills, and then he does, his
attack and moves on. But it will not move forward. It certainly doesn't give you anything as glorious as the Spider-Man 3 quick time event where Peter Parker just gets fucking owned. I don't know if you all have seen this one, but like if you fail, I
think I have seen it.
It's all time good.
I'm watching
Spider-Man, you just miss and he just falls to the ground and lands on the concrete filled with fire, and then the bomb goes off and it's game over. This to me is what quick time events are for, is funny fail states.
Oh my god. That woman's eyes.
The woman's eyes are a lot. Listen, Spider-Man 3 was a long time ago. Video games are in a different place. In any case, the thing so you get past that QTE, right? And the thing about that game is it feels like it is a third-person action, like character action version of something like Destiny, which I'll get to like the currencies and upgrade materials and shit in a second because woof. But with like none of the polish, none of the money thrown at it the way, and actually that's not true, I'm sure there's lots of money thrown at this thing, but like it feels like when you don't just throw money at UX UI design, it feels like the sort of version of God of War, but where you didn't spend a year making it feel good for the axe to come back into your hand. And I don't really love God of War that much. And what's left is just something really laborious. Like playing this game felt like a chore to me. Even when I was watching something else and like paying attention somewhere else, I was like, ugh, I can't believe I have to redo this same fucking mission. Or not the same mission, but the same type of content, because so many of the missions are the same thing. So I guess to set it up, Avengers is a third-person action game in which you are playing as members of the Avengers. In the beta, you can play as Hulk, Black Widow, Iron Man, or Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. Each of them have, X is a light attack, Y is a heavy attack, hold down left trigger, right trigger shoots. This is true for every character, even the Hulk. There are variations on this. So like Tony, Iron Man can switch between a pulsar blast, a laser beam, and rockets with his range attack, whereas Kamala is always just going to do her big like slap with a hand, right? Mm-hmm. There are main story missions in the game. The beta opens up with like 4 of those in a row, or 3 of those in a row, I guess, that are basically just like, hey, linear character action game levels. You're sliding between tight spaces while someone narrates. You're going into combat arenas. They showed off the first of these a year ago or whatever at E3 when Avengers Day goes bad and that stuff got out. You could see that stuff. And that didn't feel particularly good. But at least there was like a degree to which you were moving forward through narrative beats. And I wasn't necessarily loving the characterization of these Avengers, but like you could imagine a world in which you get to some good stuff there because it's just crafted third-person action video game stuff.
Yeah, it's just one of those.
It is one of those at that point. But then you get into the heart of the game. And the heart of the game is that you're on a helicarrier, like a secret, not a shield one. I think it's like the Avengers helicarrier that you recover, and you have like a map of the world, and the world is filled with missions to go do. The missions break down into a couple different types. There are some where you just go right to an AIM facility. AIM is kind of your rival organization in this game. For people who don't know, AIM is like a long-running antagonistic organization in
MODOK.
Yeah, MODOK. Yeah, exactly.
MODOK.
So you're running missions sometimes in AIM facilities where you just like, the game loads in and you're in like the lobby of an AIM super science facility, like down a hallway. And it's like, what is happening? And you're like going down hallways and breaking up, like fighting people in laboratories that are like, I've been in this laboratory twice because I basically did another mission in an AIM facility that has all these same.
No setup? It's just
the setup is like a text thing that is like, if we can get into the AIM facility, we can hook Jarvis up, and then Jarvis will have better uplink capabilities. That doesn't mean anything. That's just the narrative. And then you'll be in the you'll be in like the XCOM Avenger style thing. That's what do you call that? Like there's a name for these planes. What are the planes that the Avengers have called?
Quinjet.
It's a Quinjet. A Quinjet. Yeah. Thank you. You're in one of the Quinjets, and maybe there's some voiceover, and Bruce goes like, I sure hope we can get Jarvis hooked up to this AIM thing. I'm Monica. I can't believe we were betrayed by so-and-so. And that's just like, it's nothing, right? Because these are missions are the ones that you're going to repeat 1,000 times to get drops. And also, you're just not a lot of drops in this game. You start the game and you get a ton as Ms. Marvel because you're in her like story missions. And in those areas, there's like lots of like, oh, if I push this, I can find a little treasure chest here. And there's some.
Because it has to be customized for the characters. So there's a lot more interaction going on.
Totally. Exactly. And there's just like, I don't know if it was just the way the beta was set up, but it was like the person I am when I'm around chests the most is Ms. Marvel, and so there's just stuff all over the place for her. But if I'm playing,
this is also a problem with Anthem, right? Where like people were complaining, like, just give us
this game
more loot. And they're like, well,
has the biggest Anthem if we gave energy. You it's bad.
Oh no,
dude. Except that Iron Man feels way worse to fly than the Anthem exosuits did. Yeah, I know. So you go and you do those missions. That's mission type 1. Mission type 2 is a bigger open area. So there's like 3 of these in the beta, I want to say. And those are like, you're in a jungle or you're in like a tundra region. And it's kind of a big open area. And we've plopped in, and I don't know if these are proc gen, I don't know if these are set, but we've plopped in like, there's a main objective and there's like 3 side objectives, right? And so a side objective might be go over here and free this guy. And that means fighting, 12 people and then opening a door and freeing a resistance member or what the fuck ever. Or hey, there's an elite squad over here. Go kill this elite squad. And then there you go there and there's like 12 guys and you kill those 12 guys. Or it's, hey, there's so many of these. I need to control this uplink. There's 2 versions. There's lots of getting Jarvis connected to the uplink in this game. And it's go stand in, it's a King of the Hill mode. Go stand in this spot while waves of enemies come at you. Or the alternative, which only seems to happen inside AIM facilities, is go to capture and hold points A, B, and C like it's a multiplayer, like Call of Duty mode, while Jarvis does the uplink, and whoever gets to 100% first, you or AIM, wins the encounter. And so you're just like bouncing from points A, B, and C to like clear the thing. And I did that like 6 times in this beta. They like constantly. And so the main event in those areas, so I did one that was a tundra, one that was like a jungly region, maybe 2 a jungly region ones, and then one that was like New York City. And in each of them though, that's the function. Like that's the structure is go do the side stuff if you want to. There's a main objective, and that main objective is go kill a boss. And when I say a boss, I mean a giant AIM robot. There's one boss fight in this game. There's 2 in this demo. There's this beta. There's a Taskmaster from the intro, and then there's Abomination who you fight as Hulk. And that one was like okay because at least it was like, hey, here's another big Marvel character I give a fuck about who isn't just like a weird robot. But it did not move me. It was not like, damn, that was a good boss fight. There was some cool interactions. Like the Hulk felt really powerful. Like not really at all. And then so that you go through like the big open area, and then what you do is, by the end of it, the New York one ends with you being in the same AIM facility that you've been in 6 of those other like missions that you can do. And I think the game has something like 7 or 8 missions available at the start, and 5 or 6 of them put you by the end of it inside of one of these AIM facilities that looks just like all the other AIM facilities. And it's just so dry. And you hear, Tony Stark do his pulse cannon and go, now this is a heart attack, because he's shooting with his heart. You know what I mean? Like, like 70 times I've heard it. So just super repetitive. There is one other mission that is like, this is a Hulk mission. You are playing as the Hulk. It's called Condition Green or something like that. And in that one, let me think, what do? You're the Hulk, and you bring other people with you, and you go into an AIM facility, and go through many places that look just like the previous ones, except now there is some custom dialogue and stuff throughout that run. And I think you maybe get like a really good drop at the end of that one. And there's like more narrative stuff around it. Like it opened with a message from Bruce Banner to the Hulk, like a recording that you play for him. So there's like some extra characterization work there. And that stuff is fine. I don't really love this rendition of the Avengers, but like it is what it is. And then there's the meta layer. Can I read you a list of 11 things? These are 11 things you're expected to care about in this game. Ready?
Okay.
Fragments.
In order of importance.
I don't know the order of importance. I'd say I'm going to guess DNA keys is the most important.
All right, that seems important.
Fragments, nanites, catalysts, nanotubes, plasma, polychorons, Uru, which I think is a missed game. I'm pretty sure.
Uwu.
DNA
everyone
keys,
keeps tweeting that at me.
upgrade modules, credits, and units. These are the 11 currencies or resources that this game is tracking.
How many are currently in Destiny right now, Cado?
Add like double that basically. It's fine.
Okay. How many did it start with, do you think?
Started with I can remember basically 3, right? Glimmer, shards, and
that's not true.
2, maybe.
You're wrong.
So there was
one for every planet in Destiny. That was the thing it was doing. This is what this is doing. The thing in Destiny 1 was every planet had a resource, and you needed those resources to upgrade your gear, right?
Yeah,
so you had to go to that place to get that.
And that is what's happening here. You're not going to that place to get the thing, but it's like, this is me trying to remember and not being 100% sure, but like nanotubes are good for melee weapons. You need 12 nanotubes to upgrade your melee weapons.
But as far as you can tell, like there's no way to specifically be like, I'm gonna go get just nanotubes. Like you just get a random smattering from whatever chest you open, right?
That does. So you played it too, is what you're telling me.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. It's like,
yes.
There's at least in Destiny, there was like, okay, you go to Earth to get the spin medal whenever you need that specific thing. That seems something I can like go do. Where this is like, every time you open a box, it's like, here's some uwu, here's some fucking nanotubes.
Here's some
like,
DNA
great,
keys.
I needed DNA keys instead. And like, yeah, it just seems to be like, it's just another random number generator of like, who knows what I'm gonna get every time. Doesn't matter. Eventually, I guess I'll get enough to upgrade these things, which I still don't know what it does. What does it do when you boost a thing?
It gives you a better power level. It gives you more.
Is it just the gear score number?
The gear score goes up, which presumably means you're doing more damage, I guess. The number goes up.
The number goes up.
Some stuff you unlock a different perks on it when you first upgrade it. You know what I mean? Like the epic level gear is like that has 2 unlockable perks. So you spend your nanotubes on it or whatever. Yeah, I
got one blue.
I was like, I'm gonna fucking give this. I hear the truth of this thing is yesterday I sat down to play this around lunchtime. I put 2 hours into it and I was like, oh, I'm done. And then last night after dinner I was like, let me give it another shot. Let me do the due diligence. Let me put another few hours into it. Let me put something on in the background. That way, maybe I'll feel better about this. I did not feel better about this. No. I felt like there's the degree to which playing this made me feel like the 2 things that I had, the 2 pathways in front of me were the only thing that separates this from all other AAA games, which is an indictment of them, is spending the year to make the axe feel good when you catch it, throwing a lot of money and time at UI, UX design, polish, right? The bones of this thing make the bones of all of the other games around it look worse. That's how bad of a time I had with this 5 hours. And you might be able to make the case that like, that's just true. That is just, yes, what separates good art from, or a good product from an unsuccessful product is a bunch of little marginal improvements all added up. But like, what a boring fucking answer. What a bland way to respond to the challenge of, hey, let me make something that connects to people. It is like this game, the thing that separates this game from other big AAA games is not super original thought. It's just that they failed to tighten up the graphics on level 5. And that to me is like the worst experience I can have with a AAA game is one that makes me not want to play other AAA games because of how poorly it reflects on the general mode. All of which is to say, playing that and then rewatching that Gotham Knights trailer is like, I can see all of the ways in which Gotham Knights looks like a game I'd rather play than Avengers, and yet I still feel like soured on the entire experience. Seeing numbers pop up of enemies feels worse because of having spent 5 hours with Avengers this weekend. And, you know, the thing about making a live service game is maybe by hour 60, Avengers is really good. There's really at the high level, there's really interesting interactions between character builds, and the difficult enemy encounters get really I don't care. I'm not going to get there.
It does seem like this is like the term beta has lost all meaning, but this game feels I mean, I know that it's the game's almost done, but it's rare to see a game like this game has had betas every single week for almost a month now, and it just it's like some of the changes that I've seen, like, you know, I haven't played it yet. I'm at this point just waiting
just wait.
You know, to get the.
You might like it more than me just because you like the Avengers more than me, which is fair.
Well, that's what I'm trying to like sort through is like if all these games. I actually think I'm probably not going to. You know, I'm trying to go with an open mind. Part of the reason I didn't play the beta was like I'd rather just let. Rather folks like Austin and Cado go through the churn, and I'll get what the product is out of there. To some degree, it is true that yes, like if they make enough of these and they're all, you know, vaguely similar or like, in certain foundational ways, the variance there is going to be your affinity for what is representing. But Destiny started from, I mean, look, arguably Destiny is just Halo. Like it is that Halo aesthetic, like evolved to a certain degree. So it's starting not from well, I mean, the combat in that game is very good. So
yeah,
well, I mean, that is really quick. The other thing is this doesn't feel good.
Yes.
Well, that's what I also was going to say. It was like it also might just be true that, you know, what I heard, you know, when this game was like first being developed is like, why is Crystal Dynamics making a game like this? This isn't what their pedigree is, and that is, you know, there's a reason Halo, you know, Bungie makes Destiny. Like you see the through line. Not that studios can't pivot from one thing to the other, but I had heard early problems with this game were like pretty rooted in like, you know, expertise not necessarily being there for a type of game that they were trying to build. And like that, I feels like is fairly present in what is more or less, you know, maybe not the final product because these games evolve over time, but for the 1.0 of what's shipping, like it seems like not enough is going to change in this beta to like, you know, manifestly like change like how it feels to be playing as the Hulk. Like what they're going to be able to tweak are, you know, how the UI works, how the currencies work. But if it still doesn't feel good to Hulk smash, it's like you feel like the game is, you know, fundamentally potentially failed on an important front, which also sucks for like, you know, the debut of a character like Miss Marvel for a lot of people, you know, for a character that is coming to the MCU but isn't there yet. Like it's cool that like she like the Crystal Dynamics chose to have her be like the main character. She is the main character.
She is very much the perspective character, and I think she works most of the time. There's a degree of like, okay, she is the fan of the Avengers. That's the premise of the way the character is written here. Is like that's a part of the premise of the character writ large anyway. Is that she's like a fan of, she's a young girl who like is engaged with the things young girls are engaged with, which is say fandom and like the entertainment side of superheroics, right? And that stuff can read really well here. Sometimes it's like a little too on the nose in a way that's like, okay, but I think that's just going to come with writing that character. Sometimes you're going to swing and miss, you know? But yeah, I think that you're right that it's a shame that is the case. And yeah, Cado, I'm curious, as someone who puts a lot of time into one of these, with I think fundamentally kind of better moment to moment interaction by you know a large scale, by like a class, you know how you're like, oh, this is this class of car. I think that Destiny is like in a different class of game in terms of combat interactions. Right. But how did you leave this thing feeling?
Not good for many reasons. First of all, it definitely feels like I feel like I would have liked this game if it was just a Miss Marvel game.
Right.
Because then they would have probably had more time to polish up and change the way that the combat feels, maybe. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe that's just intrinsic to the way they were going to design the thing anyways. But something about it's like, it feels like something was stretched out to cover multiple characters, where if they had focused down on a smaller set, maybe they could have polished it more. I don't know. Like, that's just speculation, but it just like does not feel good to do almost anything in this game. Like it feels too sluggish. Like I think they were trying to go for impact on the hits, but it ends up feeling like something about the Arkham games, or like especially those first two. Like there was still impact to the hits, but there was a swiftness to moving around that battlefield and kind of snapping to and from all the enemies that felt fucking good. Like that's one of the big things about the Batman Arkham games feeling good, is that combat flow that flowed so well. And in this, it feels like I'm getting caught on the enemies almost. Like totally. Instead of like moving through or from one to the other, it's just like it doesn't feel good to like to fight, which is the thing that you're doing most of the time in this game.
Yeah, that is what this game is. That is what it means to be an Avenger, is to blow up robots.
Yeah, you're gonna fight a bunch of robots, punch some people in science suits that teleport.
Yes.
And like, it's just and then the here's the thing about me enjoying Destiny is like, if Destiny didn't feel good, I wouldn't enjoy Destiny.
Right.
If Destiny didn't have as good of combat encounter and design, and like I could like go through bit by bit ages of like why it feels so fucking good to dodge a sniper shot in Destiny, like the timing of being able to do that, where like they try to do a similar thing here. I've noticed it. Like there's the laser's coming, but I'm already halfway through punching this other enemy, and I'm like kind of in this weird stuck motion where I'm like fighting them and I can't move away, so I'm gonna get fucking shot, and I get shot in the back, and then there's the animation of me falling over, and like everything takes too many seconds to get through, and then like it just feels sluggish even when you're not playing the Hulk. For like that first at the first one,
like that story mission when you take over the Hulk.
Yeah, it's just like I was like, maybe it's just because it's the Hulk and he's like big and heavy.
He's
and then you
so slow.
And then you pick up Kamala partway through that, and it's just like, oh wait, no, this is just all of it. Like for some reason, it didn't hit as badly in that very opening one where you're hopping from you like do Thor, you do like a little Iron Man, you do a little Black Widow. Black Widow's a little bit faster, I think. Maybe that's why it didn't.
I put a lot of time into her for that reason. But her thing was the other version of this though, where she ends up feeling like not too fast, but slippery in a way where like her combos felt like they were stumbling over each other in a weird way. I don't know. It was just like,
it's just like something
I like
about
her grappling hook. The fact that she can grapple to an enemy is cool. I like.
Yeah. Oh, also, another thing that I hate is late. As much as I adore late title cards, I hate late tutorial missions. Do you remember after you do like both of those opening missions and unlock the fucking helicarrier, then you get to the harm room, the like X-Men style danger room or whatever.
Yeah. And then it walks you through like basic attack shit.
Yeah, and also like the fact that there's a counter system that like if you time counters, I was like, oh, that would have been great to know like during any of the prior missions.
Yeah.
Don't love that.
So that stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm very curious if what we played is the first few hours of the game. It definitely isn't, right? Because you end up, there's a point at which you end up with Avengers you have not rescued yet in the story,
right?
So we'll see. We'll see how people respond to it. Maybe the natural game flow is better, and but I think like the basics of what's here is just not it,
right?
You know,
that's the issue for me, is that the like basic playing of it is not good enough for me to even try to grapple with, okay, what's the progression of this thing? Like, how does it feel to like pick up another bangle for Kamala? It's like, that cool. That's chill, I guess. Like, I don't care about the bangles because the fighting isn't good enough for me to want to engage in the other systems that are there. Like, there are some bangles that give you like a gamma burst on something. It's like, oh, I guess that will make something happen, but it doesn't feel good still. It doesn't feel good partially
because, one, it's very rare that you get your fourth hit in that combo off because there's so many enemies on screen. And two, because you've killed someone by your third hit most of the time. I don't know. Anyway, we should not. That game is out in 10 days. Patrick will play it probably. I will not be spending money on this game. I gave it 5 hours. I don't want to give it a sixth. Anyway, Arkham or Gotham Knights comparatively is like, damn, there's a motorcycle in that. Damn, you're like you grappling up stuff. Okay, that looks better. I'm still not.
Well, they're coming from the thing that game will have is it's coming from a really solid foundation to work with, right? Like it's grafting that stuff onto something that people already like. And what's happening part with the Avengers, and part of why I was pointing out some of the early sort of like talk I'd heard about how that game was progressing internally was like, look, like, yeah, it's not Rocksteady working on Gotham Knights, but they proved with Arkham, or like it's even a brand new studio. If you're just taking like, here's this thing that people already like, we're taking that and we're gonna shift it in a different direction. I don't know if it'll be successful necessarily, but part of what Destiny's had plenty of problems over the years, lots of problems, extraordinary problems. But what do you come back to? It's like, well, during those ebbs and flows, damn, it still feels good to like shoot in that game. It still feels good to go into an encounter. And like that's a fallback for Destiny when all the other stuff is on fire. It's like that part is still there and still
I'm
works.
just so
I'm not saying that like Destiny's like combat excellence is the same as like Arkham Knight's like combat, but it's working from a similar place of like, oh, we can fall back on this and build on it in any number of ways.
There was a piece going around this weekend that I'm going to struggle to pull up because I didn't save it anywhere. That was basically like, hey, should we hold Children of Men's influence against it? Children of Men, the Cuarón film that came out in the mid 2000s, and was ended up being more influential than many other films of that era in the way that a lot of folks bit some of what at the time was a very novel element of it, which was its long takes, its single shot scenes. And then in the last 10 years, that not that it invented that, but they were deployed so well in that film. The name of the piece here is Children of Men. It's by Spencer Ryder. It's on Medium. And the question ends up being like, now when that gets deployed, there's a degree to which it feels bankrupt of like it's being done because it's a stunt, not because it's communicating something about the world. And do we hold that against Children of Men or don't we? And the writer is like, I don't think I do, but I understand how you end up thinking more poorly on that film because of the influence it's had on a bunch of other like schlockier films trying to deploy the same model. I understand how you come back to it and it doesn't work for you the same way. And I'm thinking about that a lot with Destiny right now. As I watch the Arkham Knights, the Gotham Knights trailer, as I play Avengers, it's like, do I hold the influence of Destiny against it? And the answer that's so strange is it's not even the influence of Destiny. It's Destiny exists because of World of Warcraft. Yeah. Because someone said, and Call of Duty, and Halo, obviously. Someone said, what if we do this genre with this genre's tail? What do we do with the most popular genre, first-person shooters, with the World of War? What if we get World of Warcraft money from it? Just ongoing. How do we make that happen?
Luke Smith's two favorite games in the world. Totally. When he left to go work at the tail end of Halo 3 at Bungie, and then, is now sort of like one of the faces and worked his way through up to that, were Halo and World of Warcraft.
Luke Smith, I'm calling you out. No.
Let's say he's like singularly responsible. No. Like, that was like, that is reflective of like what that game is. And
the thing that's wild is, it didn't work. I like Destiny fine. Cado, I truly do enjoy that it is like a thing you love, and I'm not dragging you for it. But it didn't become the world's biggest game. They did it as if they did it. They swung for the fences on like, listen, we're going to do this thing. This is going to be the future of games as service, multiplayer, drop in, drop out, ongoing progression over the course of a decade. This is a 10-year plan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when you look at games like Avengers or any of these games that have this progression mechanic, it's like they're chasing a ghost. They're chasing like something that never existed. Destiny didn't take over the world. You don't need to make the game where the numbers go up because those games do okay, but they don't do so much better, actually. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the bottom line is such that even with a smaller player base, the fact that you can do more microtransactions, the fact that you have more ongoing players who are going to spend money actually evens out in that way, and you end up having this thing where even though it's not the monocultural success that Call of Duty 4 was, you end up being able to say that this was a big success for you. Maybe that's just what the numbers look like. But
I don't know if it's even necessarily that at the end of the day if it ends up like hitting that, but I do think early in of greenlighting a project, it's easier to greenlight a project that has the potential.
Show me the
for
money.
That,
it's like the deficit,
even if it doesn't reach it.
Totally, it's like what is the? Why am I blanking on this rule? What is the rule that you have to show that you won't create a deficit with a new bill? This is bad. This is bad politics right now from Austin. I can't look this up.
I know
what
you're
now,
talking about.
It's that idea of like, listen, we know we're asking for X million dollars, but we're going to sell so many different Batman outfits. We're going to have so many people playing for more than a month, so we're going to do a second content drop. And I get that that's the reality of the situation, but I'm so desperate and ready for a new paradigm, and not even necessarily a better paradigm. I'm sure that what comes next will frustrate me just as much in 5 years, but I'm ready for that shift and for that first early bit to where I get to be like, you know, surprised or interested in some new model for what it means to make a AAA game.
Well, but I think this is part of what allows like Sony's line of games to continue to exist, is the existence of games like this to some degree, which is like they make it like they don't get involved in any of that stuff. Like whatever you think of like the Sony like in-house style of storytelling, like part of what like I was like, I look at, you know, Gotham Knights and even in Avengers goes like, what if like we just ditched all that stuff and you just made like a more traditional, like single player, like that's what I think of. Like all this other stuff distracts because I know that I don't have time for it. It's going to make like the single player experience like worse, but just even if they're not trying, like just by nature of like how you're going to balance the game. And it's almost like what I was some of Sony stuff to perpetuate in the formula that it has now come to, because it stands in contrast to where all the the third party publishers have to put their financial eggs in because they can't. Unlike Sony, they're not selling hardware, and so I think that's why you see a lot of these games chase this dragon, is because like that's just kind of where it's all ended up. So yeah, it's a bummer. I
was gonna say for as not large as Destiny is, I think what they're chasing isn't it some sort of like blockbuster success. It's longevity. It's still been going for 6 years.
I don't think that the core. I think you're totally. I don't think that Bungie is chasing that at this point. No. I think that people in suits who are like, we want that Destiny money,
right,
are chasing something that doesn't exist.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that they look at Destiny and they see longevity. They see a game that could last 6 years without having to make wildly new content, possibly, right? Like DLC packs that get spread out one a year, and like people repeat stuff, and you know they run that content now, and they buy microtransactions over those 6 years, right? I feel like that's what the bean counters are seeing, is like, oh, people are still playing Destiny, and that game came out in 2013. Like, great. Let's do that.
Holy shit, let's do that. Yeah, totally. I mean, the other model there is Rainbow Six Siege, is a lot of those the kind of games of service multiplayer games that are like primarily competitive multiplayer that similarly have wild long tails, and I get it. And this is absolutely broader dissatisfaction with marketplace ethics and you know, capitalism writ large, and you know, the idea of there being, you know, a choice available for people when in fact like you know who the fuck I am, but it still nonetheless has been very frustrating. In any case, we should move on. We hit this pretty long. Let's take a break, come back, we can talk about some other stuff, because we didn't even get through this whole event, so we will be right back. All right. This next one is rough because of, it's not rough, it sucks. Like the Rocksteady allegations came out, what, a week and a half ago now? Something like that?
Yes. Yeah, the Guardian piece was probably about
Do you want to, can you summarize that for me, Patrick?
To
some degree.
I didn't know we were doing this. So I'm doing
sorry.
This on the fly. No, it's okay. I'm pulling up the Guardian piece.
Cover the Rocksteady game, right? So,
there was a Guardian piece. This is where the original. Oh, great! Now I'm getting you've already read too many things of the Guardian.
Great.
There was the Guardian a piece that was about. There was a letter that had been circulated amongst a number of the female staff that had sort of been written collectively as a way of like sort of like calling out a lack of internal change at the company, and then as a result of that, you know, the Guardian reached out about that, and they released a statement saying like, oh, we're working to change things. And then following that, there was one of the lead writers on the Suicide Squad game came out with some more specific allegations about what had happened to them, and then Rocksteady weirdly, like in 2 different instances, released statements that were meant to show, I believe, that they had been, addressed things earlier, and that like their take was that not that we haven't had problems, but that these problems were addressed sooner than just the Guardians like surprising us with a letter that had been already circulated internally. And then there was a follow-up to that one. I didn't read the second statement. I missed that because it happened on a Friday as things were winding down. But Rocksteady put out 2 separate like image, not quite Notes iOS app. Notes app sort of things. But it was a very strange way for this all to play out. Like it was just it was odd to say the least, and it seemed to inspire some interesting commentary because there definitely seemed to be women at Rocksteady that said we don't feel this is representative of the studio as a whole, and that was kind of a through line in some of these statements from Rocksteady of like, yes, there have been problems. We don't want it to suddenly seem like we're a studio that's like fully toxic and incapable of like holding bad actors accountable, which then like reading some of the social media commentary led to just a strange sort of discourse around like, well, what do we actually talk like? It all kind of seemed to get lost at a certain point of what exactly happened here, who should have been held accountable, and have things been fixed at the studio to the degree that well, you can't fix, but that you can institute institutional change and checks to make sure that everyone, not just women, feel safe working at the studio. And yes, this all came 2 weeks before there was a panel announcing the first game from the studio, and at this point it's probably been like 4 or 5 years.
Like it's more than that even, right?
And this new game doesn't come out till 2022, which I gotta admit I found sort of surprising that it's going to be like that long in between Rocksteady projects. But
that last game was June 2015, so that was Arkham
7
Knight,
years,
right? Yeah, 7 years between games. It's definitely one of those things that's like definitely mars the debut of something like that for me, whereas like the thing that I'm thinking about is what were the conditions under which this thing was made, and frankly that should always be at the top of my mind anyway, especially in this industry. But it's hard not to watch something like a trailer like that and not be ground back down to, hey, 10 of the 16 women who were here signed a letter 2 years ago about how bad the conditions have been, about groping, about not people who were stepping over lines, not being held accountable, etc. For that not to be the front of mind. Even as you play Bombs Over Baghdad, the incredible Outkast song, the lesson of which was more people should be using Outkast songs in
it's
their
now
trailers.
Been long enough that song isn't like that became like that album specifically was just all sorts of just everywhere to a degree that it was like, cool, you can't do it anymore. Like it's not interesting to play it but like it was just as I was watching, I'm like, man, that song's so damn good. Outkast was good, and like this is a great track. And all right, it's time. It's been long enough. You can put Bombs Over Baghdad on your trailers again, and it's a bop.
It's a fucking that song is a bop.
That's it. I don't know what to take away from that fucking trailer.
It's nothing, right? It's like it's a CG trailer of it's a CG trailer of what looks like what if Sunset Overdrive had Harley Quinn in it. Which we probably did if you looked close enough. I'm sure you could find a Harley Quinn outfit in the customization.
Sunset, don't use this as an opportunity to drag Sunset Overdrive. I'm not dragging it. Overlooked games of the last 10 years. Come on.
I'm not dragging it. I'm saying, but that was the vibe, right? It was goofy, bouncy, violent, excessive fun in a big open world city that's gone to hell. That's what that pitch is, right?
Yeah, and you could probably glean some, it's the trailer is structured in a way that like what they're showing is clearly demonstrating gameplay mechanics or like character traits that will, come into play. And I guess I missed the press release, but it seemed to be indicating that this is like not primarily a melee game. Like there's a lot of shooting elements. Like they're going to change.
Sense. It's a third person shooter.
Yeah, more of a third person shooter, but yeah, I don't know. I've heard over the years this game is going to have serious games as service elements as well. Yeah. And so I don't know if that means it's going to have numbers, but I do know that it's like has been built like in with stuff like that in mind, what it actually means it's been a while since I've asked around about that project, but I know that was definitely that's just a thing happening at Warner Brothers. Like if you're making a game at Warner Brothers, it's a big budget AAA game. Like, sorry.
I mean, that was Shadow of War too. Remember? Like
it's all of them. It's the only things that Warner Brothers is making. I don't know what's up with that Harry Potter project anymore. That's been delayed a number of times. But my guess is that'll have something there too. What book you pull from the games as a service shelf can be different. But this game's going to have it too. I don't know. Yeah, it was. I was more excited for the Suicide Squad movie than I was for the trailer of the game.
That movie has a good cast.
It looks like it's gonna be, man, fucking, I don't know shit about Polka Dot Man, but you put Polka Dot Man in we watched the trailer, my wife was like, what was with that guy with this cheap suit and like the dots came off, and I like sent her to the Wikipedia page. She's like, huh? And I was like, yeah, that's why I'm excited for this movie. Sure.
Yeah. Tell me everything you know about Polka Dot Man.
That's it. I know he wears a polka dot suit. That's all I got.
That's all you got. Okay, great. I'm not going to say anything else. You find out when Suicide Squad, the movie, shows
up. Great.
So yeah, that's. Was there anything else that's even worth?
I don't think so. They didn't show anything. So it's just that cinematic trailer. It's 2022 is pretty far off.
It is.
I thought I had heard that Gotham Knights was maybe going to be this year. So I think that may be another stealth COVID, like, all right, just
push
see
it.
See you in
that feels like
one.
Yeah, that feels right. So yeah. Anyway, DC stuff.
Sure.
Other new stuff this weekend. You want to give me an Apple update?
Yeah.
Fortnite. What's new in the world of Fortnite?
Microsoft filed so one of the questions we had after the Apple said they were going to terminate Epic's developer accounts was, would other companies file legal briefs or even public statements and sort of like, not solidarity, then support of like the general principles that Epic is criticizing Apple and also Google for. And it wouldn't have been shocked if like everybody just said, hey, cool, Epic, like you got this. Like, why do we need to get them mad at us too? But kind of lost in the Fortnite kerfuffle was that like Microsoft was like pretty like annoyed at Apple over the Games Pass sort of debacle of them trying to get that set up on iOS. So over the weekend, Phil Spencer on Twitter announced that they were filing a brief, which I have not read yet. I filed it away, but I haven't had a chance to actually look at the details of it. But the fact that Microsoft's publicly coming out and saying we're going to legally support, or legally, filing a brief isn't legally support. It's just like they're filing some paperwork that says, hey, it's like a thumbs up in a legal sense, a like for what Epic's trying to do. So I think it's notable. I wish Game Pass was on iOS, and I think Apple not putting it there sucks ass. So I would like to, as someone that is hard enough to play games, the ease of access is like super important to me, and so I would like that to be there too. So I'd be curious to see if there's anyone beyond them. I kind of doubt that. But that's kind of where we're at now. Now it's just a matter of like, 4 days from now, do they actually terminate the developer accounts? Does I guess also emails came out. This happened on Friday. They were
right.
Because Apple responded in court, and you can go to I would recommend going to The Verge. If you just type in like Verge Apple Epic emails, you'll get a piece where they just paste all the emails, and you can read like, what's it like when Tim Sweeney writes an email to Tim Cook that he knows is actually going to get read?
Right. Actually, yeah.
That's what that was my favorite part of it all. It was like, okay, sure, all the ethical, legal questions, like, but legal battles mean like we can just see the dirt, and like that. I love just seeing just an email between Tim Sweeney. Love watching Tim Sweeney, for whatever reason, redact the emails of Apple executives, even though it was a public brief that was filed, but then also failed to redact some of the emails. Just like, like Tim Sweeney, just beautiful. In there was, Apple trying to point out some Epic hypocrisy over them trying to seek sort of a sweetheart deal for themselves. And Epic's response to that was like, well, actually, we wouldn't have accepted that deal unless it, applied to everybody else. Like, who knows whether that's true or not. But that's where things stand now, is sort of like a countdown to August 28th when the developer accounts are supposed to be terminated. And I guess I now feel increasingly that I think Epic is actually gonna or slide back on this a little bit. I think they're gonna take it as far as they can to the end of the week, and then I think they're going to patch Fortnite, take out the currency stuff, feel like they made like a really big statement, and then let it fight out in court. That would be, if I was betting, that's where I don't think Epic will. I don't think Apple's going to budge, and I don't think Apple or Epic is going to allow the developer accounts to get terminated. I think that will cause so much. Whatever principles that you may agree with that they're trying to go for, the developers that would be impacted as a result of is too great. Like it would disrupt so much of their other business that I just don't think they'll let it happen.
Yeah, we will see how that goes. That's the new stuff. Any other games you want to shout out? You're putting some time into what's it called, Raji?
Yes, I played a little bit of Raji, which is a game that was in the Nintendo Indie Direct or whatever those are called.
Indie Showcase, please.
Indie Showcase, excuse me. Yeah. And this one is from India. Okay. Wow, stepping on my joke. You know, that's fine.
I didn't mean to step on your joke. India. Yeah, good joke.
Yeah, so I loaded that. Okay, well, not sure that was.
You know what? Stepped on that joke.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Oh, okay, I shouldn't listen. Mm-hmm. Let's clear the air. I want to hear you talk about this game. It's a small game. We spent a lot of time talking about very big games today. Let's talk about some small games. Tell me about this game.
Well, I wish I liked it more. Is I guess what I'll say. It's the combat is pretty rough. I will grant that last night I was playing it as like, all right, here's my hour before I go to sleep. I just want to check this out so I could shout it out on the podcast the next morning. And the combat and the platforming is just a little rough. Like,
it's like an isometric action-y
isometric action
primarily.
Game, and you're like the combat is like sort of you're doing what is neat about it is you're doing a lot of like interactions with the environment. So like you're from this top-down view. Like if you see like a pillar, like you can press like the A button and they'll swirl around that, and that causes like a stun action. You can climb up it and jump off it, and you can either do like a normal attack with this sort of magical sword that you have, or you can do a magic attack. It has a lot of like really interesting ideas. It just wasn't quite like fully clicking for me mechanically when I was playing. I'm gonna give it some more time because I found one, it's an aesthetic that you just don't see in games. So like it's just neat to see. Like be wandering around even if like the moment-to-moment combat is sort of like just seeing this different. I'm like playing on one hand, I'm playing Blasphemous with like all sorts of like Hispanic Christian iconography, and then I'm playing Raji with all this other different religious iconography, and it's just like cool to see games like it's just not something you normally see, and so like the combat is not like enough of an impediment to like. It's not actively pushing me away the game, but it's not necessarily like actively encouraging me to want to engage with that part of it more. But like the story framing is like really neat, where it's like you are this mortal that's been chosen to be imbued with a bunch of power, and the gods aren't sure if you actually can handle it. So you have like Vishnu like narrating like as you're going around, being like, I don't know about this girl. I'm like, they're not like talking like they're in Aladdin or something. I
know what you mean.
Like it's not as stylized that way, but like if I was like to paraphrase, they're like, don't know if we picked the right mortal for that. Like that fight didn't go as well. And then like
do you think that changes based on how you do, or is that just?
I don't think so. It seems sort of like built, and then you got like was it Shiva? As it's like one of the others is like narrating, and that part is like really neat. Like every time I'm pressing forward, I'm looking forward to another one of those exchanges, and I'm curious to see how that. Like, I hope they just keep that framing where you just have these gods just like narrating, like
the equivalent of what are the Muppets called in the stands?
Oh yeah, the old Muppets up in the rafters
Waldorf,
of the
Statler and Waldorf. Yeah. Love
it has very much those vibes, and I was cackling. The only thing that was missing is like it doesn't account for like there was a time where I just like boosh, just like botched a jump. It has like a very specific sort of timing. Yeah. There's almost a hesitation in the jump where like you're hitting. Not that it's not precise, but I'm just like getting used to the way it's handling sort of jump mechanic. There's just like a little bit of a pause before it, like the character kind of launches. And I just launched right into like a bed of spikes. And I wanted like Vishnu to be like, just like some sort of sarcastic comment to go along with it. And there wasn't one. But yeah, I'm finding like the visuals are great, which may be a, you know, some of the chatter I heard around the game that I mentioned last week was that, the performance is not great. This game is very pretty and would look even better if it was like running like rock solid 60 and didn't have as many resolution issues that it has on the Switch. Like you can just tell it's a little pixelated, it's a little grainy, however you want to characterize it. And I'm playing in docked, so I'm playing it with the Switch at a higher power level. But like it's interesting, and like all the aesthetic stuff and the narrative trappings are like enough that if I don't have something to play, this will be one that like I'd be happy to like jump back in and like I'm just going to see what like is going on here for another half an hour and kind of pluck my way through it. Which is the opposite of Blasphemous, which is like I'm just fucking like over the moon for this video game. Like I love it. Like every time most games I hit the pause screen and like on the map screen you can see the percentage of your exploration, and like it's maybe not as telling you necessarily how far you're in, but you can get general spitting distance of like where you're at. And normally I'm playing a game and I'm like, all right, well, let's wrap it up. Like, let's go to the next one. And this one, every time it's like another 5%. It's like, oh damn, I'm 5% closer to the end. I'm just
to not having this game in my life anymore.
I didn't do this until like after I have an interview for a feature that hopefully will go up later this week about them doing the Spanish dub for this game, so it could more accurately reflect the culture that they built into the game. I just stuck with the English dub to start, and then after the interview, I was like, shit, I should like this. I try to play games if you can, with their reflective voiceovers, and like, oh man, like the Spanish dub just adds a fucking gravity to this game. It's just like, it's just beautiful, and it just like really fits. Like it's something like it's a piece of the game that like clicks into place. I'll tease a bit from the interview, which is where I had asked. This game is made by Spanish developers in Spain, and it's using the architecture around them. Like it's
like all Catholic cathedrals and
it's very reflective of like their own heritage and their culture. And I said, well, this probably seemed kind of to go a year later to be able to go back and do a Spanish dub almost seems like. I was like, I don't want to be presumptuous, but my guess is you wrote the script in Spanish and then had to translate it to English, and in some way you're losing something about the game just in the or something changes along that path. And they're like, they explain that actually like the soul of the script feels more accurate when it's being said in Spanish, because those are the words that we wrote as opposed to being the words that have been sort of localized. And like one interesting instance of that was there's a fight in the DLC that I haven't encountered, but basically they tried to just kind of translate it, and it just wasn't working. There was a certain rhythm to the language and the script that just made it didn't work for English. Like it just didn't. There was just no one-to-one. And so they ended up rewriting it in sort of like a Shakespearean sort of way. They just basically just like threw it all out and said like, let's approach it from a different angle.
Right. The thing that we want to translate here is the rhythm and the cadence, not the word-to-word stuff. That's the most important part of this encounter.
And it just wasn't happening. And so they said, in this instance, like with the Spanish dub, you get like the soul of the script is like actually there, because you can hear it in the way that like we actually wrote it. And so like you actually get like a more like they consider the Spanish version to be like the more like canonized version of the script, because it's so much closer to what they were going for. So it's like there's that, and it's just it's a really terrific action adventure game. Like the Soul stuff, it steals mechanics from Souls, but it feels so much more Castlevania than Souls. And I don't feel like it's nearly as brutal or as hard as a Souls game. And it's tough. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but I don't find it nearly as punishing. And it's just great game. Blasphemous.
Easier than like Hollow Knight, you think?
Probably around the same. I would say around like the difference there just being that it cribs the specific mechanics of Souls of like bonfire equivalents and enemies respawning in a way that I forget how Hollow Knight like repopulates.
Similar, I want to say. I think it's pretty similar.
Just really, really great game. There's a reason I wrote. I was glad that like the handful of people that picked up on my headline joke of congratulations to 2020's 2019 video game of the year, Blasphemous. And then like one person was like, aha, giant bomb. I was like, thank you.
Yeah. I beat Remnant. I wrapped that up. Speaking of other, which
the base game, right?
Not the base game. I just started the DLC. Oh, so I think that some of the first DLC is just integrated into the base game. I might be wrong about that. Someone correct me if I am. But there's like a swamp area that gets expanded upon with some of the DLC, and I think that just flows right into a campaign. I might be wrong. But now there's a second campaign that like is straight up like a year after the end of the end of the main campaign. You pick up. Here's where you are. Here's like the continuation of your main character story. So that's where I am now. That game was like so good and also shorter than I wish it was. I very much was like, all right, give me another full level, and it was the last boss. And I was like, fuck. The last boss was very cool. The last boss felt like a Final Fantasy 14 raid fight. Like it had that style of really unique mechanic of like.
Were you playing solo? Or
I was playing solo. I played the first half of this game co-op, and then I went back with with the character I'd already leveled up halfway, and basically started a new campaign or picked up my campaign from the first level.
And it still works. So I feel like we talked about this.
It totally worked. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, part of it was just like I got different bosses than I got with my friend when I was playing, because the game, pulls from a hat what encounters you're going to get, what big boss fights you're going to get, for instance, in each level, basically. And there's like a handful of them that you can get, which is what encourages you to replay it and to, it's not a games of service game, but it almost could be, because of the way in which you could like go back to try to get as many trait points as you want to and collect the gear that you missed in your first playthrough. There's a lot of boss fights that have like really interesting mechanics that give you almost Monster Hunter style different loot, depending on if you break this part off of the boss or if you use this alternate method of beating the boss or whatever. And like by the end, I had gotten like some really cool weapons, and I really liked my build. The last boss was really hard, but again, like there's a cool mechanic where it's like you can barely damage the boss, then you get put in a phase where you can get a buff that lets you damage the boss, which is like, again, it's a very Destiny thing in that way, right? Where I've seen Cado do the raid in which, all right, we can't really hurt the boss in this phase. We have to wait until the next phase, and then we have to get all of these buff counters that we can, and then we have to go back and in the next phase really drop all our DPS or whatever. But it felt great, and it is such a good example of a game where the moment to moment feel is just so sharp that it makes me want to like continue to pluck away at it. I'll probably check out the DLC this week if I find the time to, because I'm definitely like done. I'm like, I want more of this game, and the premise of the DLC is pretty interesting. Or the most recent expansion is pretty interesting. So I'm here for it. I had a good time with it. Cado, do you have anything else you want to shout out before we start to close up shop? I have like one or two emails, and then that's it. Otherwise,
nah, just it was mostly I spent my weekend cleaning an olive oil spill off my kitchen floor. So
no, brutal. Is this why you were quiet when I was like
full bottle? Yeah. Full bottle.
Wait, did it break? What happened?
Yeah, it slipped out of my hands just high enough off the ground to shatter and put olive oil over my entire kitchen floor, which if you've never spilled just straight oil on a floor, especially a tile floor with grout, it is a bitch to get out. It took most of my weekend, and then the rest of it, I played that bad Avengers beta, and like a game or two of Valorant in there somewhere. There was some high points, but apart from that, that was it. Unfortunately.
Incredible. All right. I'm going to go to emails. If you have an email, you can send it to gaming@vice.com. We've continued to get really good emails, both about bad boss communications and food rivalries. Patrick, you missed a lot of really good food ones last week.
I know, I'm bummed. I don't listen to the podcast, but I feel like I need to go back.
You should go back and listen to it. Yeah. And you should ask Cado for the unedited cut.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
We cut an email because we were reading the email like, this might be litigious. This might be too dangerous. This person sounds like an asshole enough to... Anyway, this is a bad boss email. This one comes in from Mike, who says, I totally forgot about bad boss emails until this week's episode, and I got a great one for you. Mike says, feel free to use my name and the names included, because I parachuted from this train wreck pretty hard with zero regrets, but I'm going to make the call not to do that, because I don't want anyone being sued. I'm just going to be broad, and I don't think you need it necessarily. I used to work for a real estate tech firm, There's a bunch of information about that tech firm that I'm going to skip. Every day at this tech firm, one of the senior leadership members, whose title was, and I wish I was making this up, Chief Evangelist, sent out a title so bad I choked, sent out inspirational emails company-wide. All staff members, all members of the brokerage, everyone, roughly 3,100 people at the time. Usually it was geared towards interesting trends or thoughts about real estate, but sometimes he'd go off script. And I distinctly remember one day in 2019 where he included this gem that I had to screen cap and send my partner immediately because it was so batshit. And I'm just going to copy and paste this to y'all as I read it. Quote, "The launch of 5G will be similar to turning on your microwave, opening its door and leaving it on for the rest of your life. There's good reason why hundreds of scientists are taking action against the wireless industry." Paul Wagner. Thanks, Maggie. Thanks, Maggie Sherman, for reminding us that sometimes with great advancements in technology come great health risks, too. Here are a few tips that can protect you in the best possible way from 5G radiation. 1. Keep your distance as much as possible. Keep phones out of bedrooms. 2. Measure levels wherever possible. 3. Buy an EMF shield. Here are some ideas. 4. Protect your home as much as possible. How close is your home to a cell tower? 5. Eat a healthy diet to boost your immune system. 6. Try earthing. For example, walking barefoot. Try earthing. There are some products that minimize radiation. 7. Educate yourself, team, friends, and family as much as possible. And then the next line, which gets cut off in the screenshot, is, did you know total U.S. consumer debt hit $14 trillion in the first quarter?
Okay, Dad.
Yeah. There is something chaotic and wonderful about try earthing, followed by a blurb about consumer debt. This email set off a firestorm in the company Slack of people pointing out that this person who was being quoted at the top, Paul Wagner's sources, all came from RT, and how irresponsible it was for a leadership member to use their platform to, quote, spread Russian propaganda. This is just, what a mess. I left the company for a better gig in March of 2020, and then a 30% layoff decimated pretty much everyone I'd previously worked with. Don't miss that place at all. Woof. Well, thank you for writing in, Mike. That is a wild one. Oh, is this earthing? This image?
Yeah, I just googled some earthing, and from Barefoot Healing, this image of a supervillain from the MCU, who a Galactus appears to be standing on Earth.
Galactus has arrived and is earthing.
And look, electrons move freely between the Earth and the grounded human body, which is why you need. When Galactus, the way he comes and consumes the planets is he just stomps around. He just does a little earthing.
I'm earthing. Goosh, goosh, goosh. That's a rough one. Some of the ones that you missed, there was one last week, Patrick. You should just go. You know what? You should just go listen to everything from last week. Because there was also an update where you missed the update on the
Juicy Lucy.
Juicy Lucy. Yeah, so you have to go back. You have to. All right,
I'll do. I will.
So, speaking of updates on that, one of the things that we requested was an update on Matt's Bar, the fries at Matt's Bar. Because we've decided we're a Matt's Bar place, not a 5-8 place, because 5-8...
No, 100%. Yeah, okay. I hope that became clear at the end of even my contribution was that the coffee cup I have is a Matt's Bar place. I chose my side.
Okay. Hey, Waypoint. I'm writing regarding a question on Waypoint Radio episode 338. I'm a semi-recent transplant in Minneapolis. I've not yet visited the 5-8 club, but I've been to Matt's. The fries there are good. They are the thinner type found in some diners and come in large portions. Cado is correct. The temperature can be an issue with the Juicy Lucy. You have to find the window when both the cheese and the outside meat are the right temperatures. For your first visit, the Juicy Lucy can't be beat, but on subsequent visits, the standard cheeseburger is also very good and is less fuss. I can't call it a restaurant rivalry, but my Illinois hometown, there are two hot dog / Italian beef restaurants just blocks from each other with similar mascots. Both have upright hot dogs with human faces, arms, and legs. Patrick, are you moonlighting? Are you out there in your hot dog costume getting a little mascot money on the side? What's going on, bud?
No, I feel like I could. I have a history of wearing a hot dog costume.
You do. Maybe if things go real bad with COVID, you always know.
Get that.
There's always money in the hot dog costume.
Because those shirts, as Rory would remind me, no one's buying these hot dog shirts. We're putting them on sale. Yeah. I'm not.
It's so funny. One of these mascots wears sport peppers as shoes. What's a sport pepper? Do I not know what a sport pepper is? I don't know what a sport pepper is. Mild chili peppers common across the southern U.S. Okay. Oh, and they're part of like a Chicago style of hot dog.
Okay. I know what this is on site. I couldn't have told you on.
The other is running while smiling at the viewer. That's a weird look for a mascot to have. Gotta go. My brother and I have discussed.
Well, sometimes you eat a lot of Chicago food and then you gotta go. You know, you have some deep dish pizza and then you gotta go.
You gotta go. My brother and I have discussed what a hot dog might be running from or to, but I haven't been able to find any firm answers. The two mascots have a complicated relationship for sure. I've seen Burger Time. You got to run away from the chef who has the salt and pepper. Who's going to put it on you probably, right? That seems right. All right, let me do one more and then call it. We have so many of these that it's like we have to keep like chipping away at them. Otherwise, we're gonna
we're gonna have a food. We got to come up with a name for the segment.
We really do. All right, this is actually super interesting. Hey, y'all. If we're talking about Chicago deep dish, I can't have you not know about the stuff that went down in my hometown. Another great opening line. In Calgary, Canada, we have a very good deep dish pizza place. What's up?
It's not Chicago.
It's not Chicago. We have a very very good deep dish pizza place that was known for their distinctive logo and putting flyers in every mailbox. There was a ring of counterfeit pizza places which copy their flyer design with a different phone number. If you call and ask for delivery, they will send a substandard pizza made by themselves at a higher price, or occasionally purchased and picked up from the original restaurant. Whoa. But if you ask for pickup, they will awkwardly go silent as they transfer you to the original. Here is a blog post from a few years ago. If you don't believe me, that is an article.
Link me.
I'm going to link you. This is called Bootleg Chicago Deep Dish Pizza in Calgary. It's on crackmax.ca, which seems to be some sort of Calgary-focused food blog. While I'm sure Patrick has some strong opinions on legitimate Chicago deep dish, we can all agree that the fact that there was ever a ring of actual bootleg pizza is hog wild. This is the best. That is
so great.
This is incredible. There's a thread here from Dan Olson, aka that's former guitar player from Slipknot.
Oh,
is that real?
I think that's real.
That can't be real.
I want to believe it's real.
I want to believe it too. That's not true. That's a joke. I feel like I know this at. I don't know this at, but I feel like I know this at. Maybe he sucks. I don't know.
In this tweet thread explaining this bootleg pizza update, the quality of the original pizza is way better and also cheaper.
Yeah. This is fantastic. And well, the thing that's amazing is in this thread, Dan Olson says, for years I have been unknowingly buying underground pizza from pizza bootleggers, which means he got. Yeah. He has been doing this thing, theoretically going into work and being like, I just don't like that pizza as much as you guys do. Y'all always talk up this pizza. It's just not as good as you say it is. It's incredible. This is incredible. Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much for letting us know about your bootleg pizza scammers. So many people have sent in emails. Again, we're going to try to keep working through them. People should go to this thing we said. Again, it is called Bootleg Chicago Deep Dish Pizza in Calgary, because there's all of the flyers have been printed out and are shown off, and I love seeing this shit. It's incredible.
This is so good. All these ads. I've loved going through a yellow book and just seeing
yellow pages were the best. Oh, I don't know why. It was
deep dish pizza.
Better. It says better than the authentic one. It says. Incredible. What? All right. That's going to do it for us. Thank you for sending in those emails. You can send yours into gaming@vice.com. As always, you can follow us all on Twitter, twitter.com/waypoint. Follow me, twitter.com/Austin_Walker, where I will not be live tweeting the RNC. I will not be.
Austin,
because he's going to talk every night. It's a nightmare. It gives it power to look at it.
I will be saved by the fact that my wife will not allow. She was okay with watching like the back half of the DNC.
Yeah, sure.
Once the kids were to bed, but this will not be allowed.
No,
like this will
be. She's right.
She will she's like we could watch anything else.
Anything else.
put on something on. She's like, you want to put that on your laptop, and then you want to put headphones on when you want to listen to someone on there. Like, that's fine. You do that torture to yourself, and that's acceptable.
Acceptable.
I am not gonna. I am not. I will show her the funny clips later, and that's it. that is how it's gonna go.
That's the right play. Where can people find you, Patrick?
At Patrick Klepek.
Cado.
At _Cado_appears.
As always, thank you to Bowen for letting us use the track Miss You off the EP Pale Machine. Find out more about that at waypoint.zone/BOEN. I feel like there's some embargoes dropping in between now and Friday, so we'll have some more impressions on stuff. I've been playing Windbound. I want to say the Crystal Chronicles review embargo is up by then, and I'm going to put some time into that.
I think... Let me tell me why. I believe the new Don't Nod game
that's correct.
Will be. I should be able to talk. I'm like looking it up right.
I'm pretty sure that's true based on some other stuff.
Yeah, Thursday, August 27th. Perfect. So yeah, I'll be able to talk about
So we got some games. So all right. Until then, as if you couldn't tell based on the general tone and tenor of this episode, fuck capitalism. Go home.
I'm kind of sad I wasn't recording. That was a good one.
Recording. I would have put a little more oomph into it. I was just happy about that. Wow, no Austin. That's all right.
Yo. Hello. That was good morning to you.
Thank you. You know what? I got two good mornings. One from Cado, one from Austin. I think I killed Cado in the process of replaying that joke.
Good job.
Just didn't expect it a second time. Never expect the second time.
You never do.
Yeah, you never see it coming.
That was the Snyder cut of that joke. Cado.
It's the same thing, but more of it.
I think it was actually a little shorter, which is weird.
Yeah. Oh, my mic is fucked.
Yeah, you sounds like you got your gain up.
Yeah, I did. Also, my PC on.
Yeah, this week is going to be brutal out here.
It's going to be rough, and it's not even as rough here, I think, as it might be some other places. I mean, definitely some other.
Well, yeah,
places.
Look, but you have to put California out of the way, like because California it's weighted too far on the. It's bad.
Yeah, the bell curve is all fucked up. The weighted the what do you call that when a teacher does that shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they move the whatever.
Weighted grading.
Weighted? Is it weighted grading? No, I thought there's another word for this. I never did it as a teacher, so.
Grading on the curve, but
grading on the curve. That's what I was thinking of.
Yes, we have to grade on.
Which
a curve,
I'm not. This is I would have to read a lot more before coming down one way or the other on whether or not it's good. It's not my field of expertise. But what I do know is California is really throwing off the curve.
Yeah.
Which just in case you put this in somewhere, Cado, our hearts go out to everyone in California right now. It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Obviously we have friends out there, but even beyond that, it's just like a terrifying thing. And I know everyone's going through an ordeal, or who are close enough to those fires. And honestly, even people who are not close to this particular fire are living with the knowledge that, is this the year that it's going to happen close to here? Is this the year where the ash is going to get towards us? Is this the year that, a lightning strike or a bad camper is going to fuck up our whole summer? It's rough. Sending love to them. Bring this up.
Time for people to buy some RVs.
Get the fuck out of there.
There was someone down the block from us that they when Illinois was at its peak in April-ish. There was a first responder around here who had a couple of kids, and so the neighbor had an RV, and he just lent the RV to the family so that she could live out in front of the house in the RV and not have to go somewhere else.
I recently told a friend that if I like won $1 million or whatever, I would buy an RV. And just like drive around.
How much does an RV cost?
Well, so the thing my friend did was immediately.
Like an RV is also probably like that encompasses a lot.
Yes. Well, and the thing that she was like, you don't want an RV. You don't want to have to deal with like the septic tank and
it's like a boat. It's like a boat. You don't want to own a boat. You want to know somebody that has a boat so you get the benefits.
Exactly. But like apparently there's someone who's done RV stuff or has been adjacent to RV stuff. It's just like it's a messy, difficult thing to take care of your RV in a way that's like maybe this person was doing a read on me. I was like, Austin, you're not gonna do well by
you can't handle an
RV. Maybe she was right. I don't know. But I still like the idea of the RV.
RVs are you're buying a house.
Are you really? Is it that much?
Well, it's like I said, it's very.
You're talking about.
Tell me. Okay, again, this is just. Whatever Google like shoots to the top of this is camperreport.com. But if I was to ask you to give me the range, the window, the price window, this says hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
So this says RVs can cost between blank and blank depending on the style and features. And what are your guesses at those two numbers?
I think the top end is like $300,000, but maybe it can go higher than that. I think the low end is where you're going to get me because I can't decide whether it's 40,000 or 60,000. So I'm going to say 50,000.
Cado.
90,000.
That's probably
that's the low end or the high end.
Low end.
Okay, what's your high end?
High end is going to be 200,000.
Okay, Austin, you nailed the high end, 300,000.
Okay,
and then the low end is $10,000, which I presume must be
that's like a trailer.
I presume that's just like you're hitching something to the back of your existing car. You're not buying an RV; you're turning your car into an RV.
What was that site called? Camper World?
Camperreport.com.
Camper Report.
A moderately appointed camper trailer pulled behind a truck might cost $20,000, while a fifth wheel may be $40,000. Most motorhome prices usually start around $100,000. That makes like some level of sense because if you think about, like some people buy a lake, or buy, whatever what you do like in your twilight makes sense that like it would cost a house equivalent to buy something that is a house equivalent.
I certainly have heard of people selling their homes to buy an RV and like live in the RV for a year or two. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then flipping the RV and then trying to like move into
Should you poop in your
community.
RV? Unique Camping Marine says you can poop in an RV toilet. Most RV owners do. However, there are some maintenance factors that go along with it.
Yeah, see? This is a thing. I don't want to own a house I can't poop in. I can't feel comfortable.
Or that you have to think that much about the poop maintenance.
The poop maintenance. I'll think a little bit about poop maintenance. Like, you know what? Listen, if the toilet goes bad, I'm happy to know who to call to get that fixed. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm not here to... Yeah, you got a poop guy. But, yeah, I'm not trying to buy a... I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
I hear you.
They seem expensive, is the thing. But also, it feels like it would be a fun trip.
Oh my God, yeah. Again, let me borrow the RV from someone.
Yeah. Let me do one like week-long RV trip, maybe 2 weeks. We'll see. We'll see how that first week goes. Don't think about it, you know? All right, we should time about this.
Hold on, I gotta send this penis.jpg to Emmanuel.
Great. Yeah?
Look, I wrote 2,000 words about a hidden penis in Halo.
Oh. Of course.
Supposedly, allegedly. Not actually.
Not actually, but allegedly. The alleged hidden penis in Halo.
Well, look, what happens when the HDR buffer in the explosion interacts with the normal map in the brute armor, you get
a penis.
Dicks out.
Look, hold on. I will send you look at this at this image.
Okay. Putting this in the chat.
Look at the arrow.
What arrow?
That's a penis.
Mm-hmm.
What arrow are you looking at? Oh.
Ooh.
That's a
That's a penis.
I'll be honest. You ever miss something because how big it is? You ever like, where is it? I don't see. It's like literally missing the forest.
That's
for the
why
trees.
I was not giving you any clues. I was like, it'll. This isn't like looking at one of those those mall.
That's a table leg, my guy. That's
magic eyes.
Jesus Christ. At first, I thought you meant the thing in the top right, the like meter, and I was like, "What are you talking? That's not." I mean, also kind of, but
that's kind of a penis.
Yeah. If you're looking for him, you see him everywhere.
That's true. I mean, what is a rocket
that grenade
launcher
in the top left? Yeah, exactly.
Well, in doing research for this piece, I like Googled like video game penis and was just like trying to see some other stories I could link to. And I didn't realize when they did the like I don't know, like a 4K update to State of Decay or something like that, that they had contracted a bunch of the texture work out, which is true for a lot of video games, and they had, I guess, like the contractors had hidden a bunch of penises in the textures, but they weren't visible unless it reached a certain resolution. And so like the 4K textures, I may be getting part of this wrong, like I don't know if it's 4K or whatever, but like it's basically at a certain resolution, they were not like discernible. And then the developers are going back looking at the original work, implementing that, and all of a sudden they're looking around State of Decay and it's just full of penises.
It's incredible. No. That's incredible. That's so
Which I bet stuff like that happens more often than you think. I bet there was a million stories of hidden things and stuff like that.
God. All right. Time about this.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do 18 seconds.